Good everyone. I hope you guys having an amazing day. So today I will be talking about macros. Macros are pretty interesting when it comes to the Service Cloud space. The reason why I'm saying that because you using macros, you can automate a few of the tasks which are normally repetitive. Like for instance, right, sending out an email or logging a call, creating a task, right? So, say for instance, I'll give you a very simple scenario, right? Let's say you're selling solar panels, right? And and unfortunately, as a company, you identified that there's one part of the solar panel which is faulty, and so you've decided that every time a customer calls for a refund, you just or a replacement, you'll replace it, right? It just because for some reason the vendor has mucked up, so they give her faulty parts, and the solar panel being shipped with the faulty part. So every time a customer calls, say, "Hey, this part is not working," so agent job is to say, "All right, sweet, we will send you a replacement." Okay. So now imagine, instead of retyping, things and creating a new task, how about you have a macro in place, right, which will do that job for you without doing much. Now, macros usually of two types, right, which is the major ones. Uh, Reversible macros, for instance, right, you have a email template, right? If you wanted to change an email template, so that's kind of macros. If you do that, it's kind of a uh, reversible one. But if you have, say, for instance, something which get committed to the Salesforce database, like for instance, sending out an email, right, or updating a case, right? These things you you normally commit to the database. When you commit to the database, right, then what happens is that you can't reverse those actions. So those ones are normally classified as the irreversible macros. So what I'm going to do today, I will just do a very simple macro, just to show you, how you can set it up. And if you're working in the Service Cloud space, if you're an agent, wanted to improve the productivity, say for instance you're frustrated by doing the same task again and again, you can do that using macros, which will pretty much save a lot of your time, right? So this is pretty much aimed for those people, right? Okay, now setting up a macro is pretty simple, right? You don't have to do much. Obviously, you need to have a Service Cloud license, right? So I presume you have that. So I'm going to walk you through a few things, right? So first thing first, you need to log into your org, and let's go to the setup. And under service setup, let's look for macros. So the macros are not enabled. You need to enable those, right? So just going to do macro settings. Um, so when we go there, and so these two things, it's good to tick, right? Search all macro text field, which is pretty cool. Share and organize macros in a folder. So what that will do, right? It will help you store your macros in a folder. So it's good to have macros stored in a folder. So that's one of the options. You can do that the similar way I demonstrated last time for the quick text, right? Where you have a folder, you can store your quick text in a folder. The same way you can store your macros in a folder. Pretty simple, pretty exciting stuff. It will make your life easier because it's just to organize stuff in one place, right? Instead of throwing macros all over, right? So that's all about. Okay, that's cool. And one thing I will encourage you to do, just to um, since you are an agent, right, working on a service cloud space, most likely you'll be working on a service console, right? So it's better to have the macros and the utility bar, which will make your life much easier. So that's something I would highly encourage you to look at it because it's a good way to add value to your uh, uh, service console application, whichever you're dealing with. Most likely you'll be dealing with a case. So when you're dealing with a case, right, so you can pretty much bring up the macros using the utility bar and do whatever you're supposed to do, right? Pretty simple. So I'm telling you a realistic use case scenario which will be beneficial to you guys. Okay, so now it's pretty simple to add macros to the utility bar. So all you have to do, go to the setup. So let's go to the normal setup, right? And it's pretty simple, right? Go to the gear cog icon, takes you to the normal setup. And under that, just look for App Manager and go to the App Manager and then look for the Service Console, which is pretty simple. Go for here. This is Service Console, the line number 21, and go to Edit. And then you have your app option, utility item, and then you can add the macros. If you don't see it, just pretty simple. Just go to Add Utility Item, look for macros, and then select it, add it, and save it. That's all you need to do. Okay. Now, you might also encounter a scenario where you realize you don't have, create macro options. So for that reason, you need to go to, if you're using permission sets, you need to go to the macro object and give the CRUD access to it. That's so. What I've done, I've given the permission set access to my user. So I'm not in favor of giving access using profiles. Profiles, it's great, but if you wanted to, I prefer to have a very common base profile, and based on that, you can build the permission sets and give access to user using permission sets. So go to the permission set and just look for macro permission set. And so I created a simple permission set, right? Nothing fancy here. And then I went to an object. So you can go to the object and then look for macros. That's, sorry, no. Come on. Really? Okay, the macro. All right, object settings. Under that, whenever it loads, you will see that I've actually added CRUD operation to it. So that's pretty much it, right? Okay, so once that's done, right, let's go to the Service Console. We go to Service Console, right, and you can see that. All right, okay. You can see the macro here. Right. Now, you might get this message, the page does not support macros, and you must be wondering what the heck that's going on. That's because you are not in the detail page of a case, okay? So we are in the list view here, right? When you try to access the macro in the list view, it doesn't work, okay? So you have to be there in the detail page, record page. So once you're in the record page, now go to the macros. You see it's different, right? So what I'll do, I will create a replacement macro. So as discussed, initially, that I'll be creating a macro where whenever a customer calls, if a logger calls saying replacement offered or whatever, and then create a task, right? So replacement. So okay, I can say solar panel parts replacement, right? So that's pretty much it. So I'll do that here, and you can link it to the case. So that being said, there are different objects you can link it to depending upon your business scenario. But since the case is a very simple uh, and most commonly used, right? In so for macros are most commonly used for cases, but that being said, it's been used for other objects as well. But the case is the most easiest object using which I can demonstrate and give you a real life business scenario, right? So like replacement of solar panel, this is a pretty real life, closer to real life scenario, right? These days solar panels are getting popular. So yeah, okay. And I gotta click on save. So when you click on save, right, now you must be wondering, that's all great. Now what next? So if you look here, right, at the top, right, you have something called edit instructions. That's where we add instructions in the sense like steps. We're telling to macros the things the macro should do, right? So go to edit instructions. So the first thing, as we discussed, we need to log a call. Yeah. So before you do that, just make sure that you have this email, login call, poll options enabled. If you don't, you need to go to the case layout and then drag and drop individual component to your layout. Because sometimes what happen, you might be playing with it and you say, "Hey, I can't see create task. I can see log a call. What's going on?" That's because you need to alter your case layout, right? The page layout. Sorry. Um, so now what I'm going to do, I'm going to log a call, right? So I'll log a call. Okay. So when you click here, you can see on the right hand side, things appear. Now I'm just going to say log a call, um, solar panel pods placement, right? And then comments. I'm just gonna copy it. Yeah, the same thing. Just say that, hey, I'm gonna replace the solar panel part. Um, Assign to for now, or just assign to somebody. Just it doesn't matter. And I will save. Yeah. Okay, so that's done. Now we want two things to happen behind the scene, right? One is to log a call, and second to create a task. Okay, so for that, there's an option called New Task. Click on the New Task. Okay, subject. I will say same thing. I'll put right. Okay, the new task here. Log a, come on. Solar panel parts replacement. And so the task, the reason why I'm creating a task, just a reminder that this, by so and so date, this customer should get the replacement. So that's the main reason. So due date, when you want the parts to be shipped, right? So you can say, I want the parts to be shipped, say, on 4th, the Friday. And then I don't have to worry about anything, right? And then, yeah, just say details, and this all applies to this one. And instructions, everything's great. And now we're gonna do save. Yeah, you can add other logic as well, right? It's just like to say add a logic. That's another thing which you can do. So in that case, you can see uh, only allow this macro to be applied if case origin is this. If, say for instance, the case if someone calls to a phone, only then the macro should be applied. So something like that you can do, right? So I'm not doing any of this stuff here, but it's just telling you an option. You can do that. It's very flexible, right, based on your requirement. So you don't have to write a code, right? So okay, so that's done. Now I'm gonna close this macro builder because I've already saved it. Now changes. Okay, I don't want to make a change. All right, now what I'm gonna do, I will go to this issue the mechanical rotor, designing issue the mechanical rotor. So basically, the customer called to say, hey, we have an issue with the rotor, so want a replacement, right? So just gonna do macros. Okay, create solar panel replacement. Okay, now I'm just going to do run macros. Okay, so it's going to run each and every step. It's like an instruction. Okay, so macros were applied, and I'm going to do done. Okay, once you do that, you see the task has already been created. All I have to do to say save. So what that will do, it will log a call, right? You can see a log a call. You can see solar panel power replacement and the task were created. Okay, so that's pretty much all you have to worry about at this stage, right? So that's how you can make use of the macros. Macros are very simple, very handy option in my opinion. If you're someone who works in a service cloud space. Um, Yeah, so that's pretty much I wanted to talk about in today's episode. I hope you find it useful, and give it a try, right? If you're an agent, right, working in a sales space or a support space, right, just give it a try to see if it helps your to see if it's going to help your productivity or not, right? And in my personal opinion, I'm certain it will, right? So that being said, I hope you guys have an amazing day. Adios.